Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Woo! Welcome to PHLY Flyers Postgame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name's Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me, that's right, it's Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. I remembered who you were today.
It's me.
And we just got a shout out. Nice championship win for the Flyers.
Belt.
It's nice to complete that Josh Harris sweep. Have to get the belt in when we can. I am less flustered than I was in pregame, despite my technological issues. Had to switch to an iPad and trying to figure out all the stuff I'm not signed into. But here we are. We've done it, and the Flyers have done it. They win 4-2 over these New Jersey Devils. Let's get another one in there. Woo! Because I love beating the Devils, and I love all of our diehards. And if you want to be part of that prestigious group, all you got to do right now, go to allphly.com. Sign up to be a diehard. It's only $36 for the year. This sale ends tomorrow night. Limited time only. Our lowest price ever. You are going to want to get in on this right now. You get access to the Discord, discount on merchant events, all of the premium content from our all-star roster of writers, everything for just $36 for your first year as a diehard. How can you pass this up? Go right now, allphly.com. All right, Hanks, pretty damn good game out of the Fly guys tonight. Higher event than the last Devils game in which they were, what were the shots? 18-13 in that game. The shots, I think in the second period, were more in the than that entire last game. But the Flyers come through. They put a 3 by Jake Allen. They get the empty netter at the end. Sam Ersson, though, to me, the star of this game, stopped 31 of 33. The 2 goals that go in, it's off the post. Sanheim tries to bat it out of the air. It ends up like bouncing off of Ersson in after that. And then at the end with the goalie pulled, the failed clear from Scott Lawton somehow with Jack Hughes on the ice. Can't get the puck down, on his belly. Can't get the puck past him and out. And then they rip one that also seemed to like ricochet off 3 different things before it beat Ersson. He was tremendous. And we talked about him before the game, the workload. They have had They've had 2 days off in a row for the first time in a little while. Yeah, it did. They had the weekend off for the first time in forever, it seems like. And he stepped up tonight. He was huge. It was much more difficult, I would say, than the game where he only faced 13 shots a week ago. But he gets the job done with 31 saves, and I thought he was the Flyers' best player tonight.
Hard to argue with that. And I don't want to give you and I too much credit, but we did a little reverse jinx action in the pregame. We put it out there in the universe that Sam wasn't playing well, and he smacked us down, as he should, which I love every single time it happens. I never get mad when I'm wrong. No. This is the best news ever. Sam Ersson was locked in tonight, pretty much start to finish. Neither of the 2 goals were on him. He looked outstanding. Even after that puck over the
glass, delay game penalty. That's always rough.
You could just like see on his face that he was like, nah, nothing's getting by me on this power play after I just messed that up. Like, and he was on it, and it was excellent to see because it's a good bounce back from him. Both the team and him, but him specifically, he looked really, really good tonight.
No, listen, again, we talked about this in pregame. They can defend what they did against the Rangers all day, but I thought that was just a terrible game. The Islanders game, there is no defending it. Like, even John Tortorella was like, game sucked. I don't know what to tell you. I like this bounce back effort now against a really good Devils team, a team that, they needed to come out and kind of beat the Flyers after what happened the last time and what they've been going through. That's now like they've only won 3 of their last 11 now. Nice, 3-11. But they're just in a bit of a skid. They probably have a playoff spot all but locked up, considering what the division is and what the East is. Like, they've already banked 50 or so points, maybe 60 points I think they have in the standings. But yeah, 62 points in the standings. Like they're basically in, but they haven't been playing great. They're missing some guys. Absolutely. Jacob Markstrom, like he was a huge addition for them. Nico Hischier, Selke candidate, the captain of the team. But the Flyers are missing guys too. They have guys sick. They have guys playing hurt. Eric Johnson, played his second game since November 20th tonight. He was pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm really happy with this win. I'm just happy that the team showed up in a spot against a good team and in a game that I just wanted so bad. I wanted to complete the Josh Harris sweep.
Exactly.
Back-to-back wins in Philly over Harris-owned teams in 2 days, and they delivered for me. I'm pumped. And it started with Sam Ersson.
Yeah, it's nice to see. The Flyers do have a tendency to, this wasn't like a national stage or a big game by any stretch of the imagination, but the vibes in Philly are obviously very good right now. And the Flyers are usually good for being like, well, actually, we're just going to go ahead and like lay an egg on the ice and just completely ruin everyone's mood. But they didn't. Tonight, they just kept it going. Great game, pretty much start to finish. And it's hard to complain about much in this one.
No, there's not. In terms of analysis, like they outplayed the Devils. That's what I saw for a lot of this game. Now, New Jersey did have a ton of shots, 33. Again, like almost triple the amount they had in the previous game. But Sam Ersson was up to the task, and the Flyers converted a lot of their chances. And that's been a problem for them the last few games. Like, even when they do get chances, there's just nothing there. And first one, I gotta give it to Bobby Brink, man. Didn't know he had that in him. Now, it did look like on replay. I think it hit Dawson Mercer in the paint. It hit somebody, one of the Devils in front of the net, to kind of get a little deflection in there. But I complained in the last game about point shots never getting through. I brought up the shot attempt and actual shot on goal numbers for all the defensemen. It's like, even when we get shots off from the point, they never get to the net. And
that one sure
Bobby Brink did it. Maybe this is his new role. Maybe he should be up top more often on the power play, ripping shots from there.
Bring back the ghost bomb.
Yeah, exactly. It's been too long since we scored on slap shots from the blue line. I don't care if they hit something or not. It was good to see. And
it was great.
It's something I'm looking forward to asking Charlie about, because Bobby Brink, it's his third goal in the last few games, but I think it's like 11 games he's had. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, third point in his last 12 games, and they're all goals, no assists. But Brink's been playing pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just hasn't been showing up on the scoreboard. I'm glad to see him get rewarded, but he's someone I think has a higher ceiling. And his sophomore season, I don't think many people really expected him to make the team out of camp last year. He just had a tremendous camp. He's been up and down in terms of production, but I like what I'm seeing out of Bobby Brink, and that line continues to be real good.
He is super fun. I got a little bit nervous because in the second period, Torts took Brink off of that Cates line and put Konecny on, which was not a bad decision. Konecny looked great on that line, unsurprisingly. But Brink, I do think, deserves a chance to continue to try to work with a player like Cates and a guy like Forster to just kind of get the numbers up a little bit. He's, like you said, he's looked really good. And it's not really a surprise that, like, of those three guys, he's going to be the guy that gets the fewest points. Like
Tyson Forster's defensive game has been great. He's been generating offense.
Right.
Noah Cates is just the team's best center, and it's not particularly close at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get Travis Konecny a few extra shifts, and it makes sense. Like, TK played almost 24 minutes tonight. Cates and Forster both over 19, and then Brink all the way down there under 13. Like, yeah, and when you're protecting a lead in the third period, I don't expect to see a ton of Bobby Brink in those situations.
Probably.
But he's got the good, solid play, I think. Like, we've been seeing good stuff out of Bobby Brink in terms of winning board battles, going to the greasy areas, doing the little stuff he needs to do. And now it's just, can he score enough to maintain this place in the lineup, especially now that, like, his line is the team's best line and has been. Can he score enough to justify his space out there? And tonight, I think, just another item on the bag of tricks.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't know Bobby Brink was going to rip him from the blue line.
There you go.
He got one that way tonight. I hope to see a little more of it, because I'm a fan. I like the pick when they got him. And I just want to see Bobby Brink succeed. He's one of the guys I hope is part of the future, but we'll see.
He's
we'll see
a fun
how it goes.
guy to watch. I really like him.
Another thing, Joel Farabee.
Bees is back.
He does look like a lot more the guy from early in the season who was making plays and not getting the puck, not getting pucks to the back of the net, but still effective.
Right.
And now scoring a little bit too. 4 goals in his last 9 games, but he did have 0 points in 4 straight. Like, he's just had such a weird freaking season. It's hard to describe what exactly Joel Farabee has been this year. Like, I don't know. He's got like 19 points. He's not scoring at all. He's had runs where he's looked real good. He's had runs where he's been invisible. He even got scratched a few games. And now it feels like he's kind of finding his way back a little bit.
What I think is important is that it's been a mixed bag all season. But once Torts finally was like, nah, dude, you're sitting. And it wasn't just one game. It was a couple. And since he got back in the lineup, he's been pretty much on fire. And we always talk about, the Torts scratches. Do they do anything or don't they? Sometimes it really seems like they do. And this is one of those situations where Farabee came back in the lineup and is obviously showing John Tortorella, like, nah, I can do this. Like, you let me know that I needed to get it together. And he really has. And tonight especially, he looked great. Not only the goal, but I think it was in the third period. He had like a fun little play that like almost got the puck on net, but not quite. He just looked really good tonight.
Yeah, he's been completing a lot of those indirect passes that he's so good at. He made a few defensive plays. I thought he was good in the neutral zone a few times tonight. I liked what I saw out of Joel Farabee. Now, do I think like, oh, yeah, man, Joel, he's part of the future. Can't trade him now. He's playing. No, I have not changed my mind on Joel Farabee, but I like what I'm seeing because whether he is part of it or they're going to trade him, like he needs to be playing well.
He needs to be better.
Like, he needs to be good for us to get something for Joel Farabee.
In either one of those situations, we need a good Joel Farabee.
He needs to be at least a decent player if you're going to figure out anything with him. And he's starting to look like the guy from the beginning of last season, I guess, is both producing points and overall play back to way better than invisible.
Yeah, and when this team's really rolling, and I know it's kind of a joke at this point, but when this team's really rolling, it's a very vibes-based group of guys. Like, when they're doing well, when they're playing well, they're having fun out there with each other. And I think that Farabee is a big part of kind of that core group of guys that really like establishes the culture or the vibe or whatever in the locker room. And so I'm sure when he was struggling, it kind of messes up the whole thing. Like the whole mix kind of gets a little wonky. And with him coming back on, I really think it's good kind of for the whole team because if he's feeling himself, the vibe probably gets a little better. Lawton back in the lineup. He's obviously a huge guy in the room. I think a lot of kind of stuff is kind of like falling together in a way that if the Flyers are able to take advantage of it, they could probably get themselves on like a nice little bunch of games here. Maybe.
All right. Before we go any further, I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Tony Dick didn't come through first tonight. Anthony Richard, few chances out there. I really thought he was going to net one in the third period where he was just right in front and had a little bit of net to shoot at, but didn't quite work out for us. But regardless of what kind of bet it is, and regardless of whether I win or lose, I've been using Bet365 all season for my player props, my futures, spread, total bets, everything across the sporting universe. I've been betting everywhere. All my bets have been placed at Bet365, and we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose your bet. All you have to do is deposit $10. Sign up, use code PHLY365, deposit $10, Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while we're here, got to tell you about our friends at Glatt Hair Restoration. You've been listening to John Marks for years tell you about Glatt Hair because he's not just a spokesperson. He's a customer, and we've seen the results. John's hair looks great, and it's been like over a decade since he's had the procedure. And now with Glatt Hair under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Morgenstern, they've taken the practice to even new heights. All sorts of different treatments, everything that you could possibly want. They even do beards. That's right. You're like, oh, I got plenty of hair. How's that beard looking? They can get that going for you as well. Bald is now optional. So if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit GlattHairMCTR.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started today. So Farabee and Brink get the first 2 goals of the game in the first period, get the team started real well. And then it's Garnet Hathaway. And we've been seeing...
He was all over the ice.
We've been seeing a ton of Garnet Hathaway lately. He's been a lot more offensively oriented lately. I think maybe it has something to do with a little bit an improvement in terms of offensively oriented line mates. Yeah. Like, again, like I said this last year about Sean Couturier on that fourth line. Like, well, he's out there with Nick Delorier a lot. No disrespect to Nick Delorier, but he never scores. No. He had 1 goal last year. Yeah. He's getting it going a little bit, and it's funny. He now has 7 goals and 17 points, does Garnet Hathaway. Doesn't sound like a huge number, but that's what he put up in 82 games last year. This was game 51 of the season for Hath, and he's been a revelation on offense. It's not like he's a stud, but we're talking about numbers that are basically the exact same as Joel Farabee's right now. And for a fourth-line grinder like Hathaway, whose main job is to get into the forecheck, to be aggressive, to piss the other team off, draw some penalties. I mean, he draws penalties at basically the same rate as Connor McDavid this year, which is insane when you think about the way the game's officiated. But nonetheless, that's really his job, and the offense is secondary. When they signed him, I said last year, like, I don't know, I just expected a little bit more offense. And then I looked at his career splits. The reason I expected more offense is he put up more points against Philly than he did like any other 2 teams combined, basically. He just kind of killed us, and so that's like our impression of him. But I like watching Garnet Hathaway. You even said during the game, like, he is fun to watch. And that was Charlie's first assessment when they made that signing a couple summers ago. Like, if you have to watch every game like we do, you want them to be entertaining. And Garnet Hathaway, he is one hell of an entertaining player, and I'm happy he's getting a few points on the board this year. Yeah,
we've seen some really poor iterations of a fourth line over the course of our time doing this together. And this is one that, like you said, like his job isn't really to go out there and score goals. His job is to pretty much just like eat a few minutes up and not let the other team score while the good players are resting on the bench. If you can also count on him to put a puck in the net every 3rd or 4th game, like, that's a pretty nice little bonus. Plus, he's super fun. Plus, he gets under the skin of other teams, and we love that here.
It was a very Hathaway game. Like, he was very much in people's faces, a little bit of stuff after the whistle, and it's just what you've come to expect from him. Now, the one thing I will say is, man, I wish he wasn't signed to that contract extension, because it seems like that's the exact kind of player teams would be looking for at this deadline if he was on an expiring deal.
Yeah, probably.
They like him for what he brings on the ice, and he makes the team tougher. I get all that. It's just like, man, if we could get a couple of things for him, that would be cool. But he is part of at least the current iteration of the team. They want him around. Yeah. They want him around for the room and to help protect guys. Like, Nick Delorier doesn't play. Yeah, and he's hurt right now.
He's skating, right?
Yeah, Garnet Hathaway not a heavyweight,
no,
but you can put him out there and he can kind of be a bit of a cop for this team if necessary.
There's like 3 Nick Delorier types left in the league at this point. So really all you need is a Garnet Hathaway. He's good enough. You need a Hathaway and maybe like half of a Seeler, and you're pretty well set as far as enforcers go.
Speaking of Seeler, so his big highlight of the game was a monster hit.
He hit a guy.
What did you make of that hit?
So it's a tough one because it's one of those hits where, like, if the roles were reversed, I would of course be screaming that Nick Seeler should be suspended, and what a dirty hit. You can't hit a guy in the face like that. But watching it, I don't think he was going for Bastian's head. I think that his head was just down, like he was puck watching a little bit. And so his head was just like lower than it ought to have been. And so Seeler's shoulder just like hit him pretty much directly in the face. I don't think the intent was there. That said, like, objectively as a hockey fan, I don't know if intent should make much of a difference. Like, if we're trying to get hits to the head out of the game, then this is probably a hit that you should probably get a little bit of punishment for. Seeler just got a minor.
And it was the minor from the scrum afterwards?
It might have been because the, what's his face? Who was it, Dougie?
Yeah.
Went as well. Yeah, so it might have been just from the scrum.
Seeler roughing against Dougie Hamilton. Okay, Dougie Hamilton cross-checking against Nick Seeler.
Right.
So it's not called on the ice. In terms of intent, like, I thought the hit against Ryan Poehling was a purposefully predatory hit.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing Poehling could do to, like, get out of the way of that thing. This, I don't know if it was predatory. Yeah. Like, Bastian needs to not be looking the wrong way. He needs to be looking at the defenseman who's directly in front of him.
Yeah.
But he does come up high, and it is a little late. Like, it was kind of just unnecessary. So I think I'll be surprised if he gets suspended, but I think he's definitely looking at a fine.
Yeah.
We have seen a big uptick, I feel like, in the last couple of weeks in headshots, though, and the league has to be like, dear Lord, this is not what we need, like, going into the Four Nations. And, like, things are going well in the league right now. Like, the product is good.
Yeah.
People are excited. They have up-and-coming young stars. The TV ratings are the best they've been in a while. Like, they don't need all of a sudden a whole bunch of head injuries happening and concussion stuff to start. So maybe he gets suspended. I didn't think this was bad as the hit on Poehling. It's just a different situation.
Yeah.
But it's kind of unnecessary the way he comes up high.
Yes.
But again, like, Bastian needs to get his head up. That's really what happened here. You have to protect yourself, but he did hit him in the head.
It's a bit of a larger conversation than we need to have on a post game. But if you are a league actually serious about getting hits to the head out of the game, which I don't think the NHL is, but if they were, then this is the kind of hit where it's like, he didn't actually mean to hit him in the head, but he did hit him in the head, and you can't do that. So you're going to sit for a game. Like, if they started actually penalizing every single hit to the head, regardless of intent or result, you would probably get hits to the head out pretty quick because guys don't want to be suspended, but they're not going to do that. So I'm guessing max a fine. Max, if anything. Because there was no penalty on the play at all.
There was no penalty on the Ryan Poehling hit either. They even reviewed it and then decided, you know what? Actually, nothing. And the dude got suspended for 3 games.
True.
So we'll see how the league handles it. I would expect some sort of discipline, but I do think a suspension will be surprising. In pregame, we talked about Travis Konecny, and he hasn't been scoring a ton of goals lately, but he's been piling up the assists. He gets the secondary assist on Brink's goal in the first period, and he adds a primary to the Lawton empty netter. And you want to talk about a dude doing a little bit of everything. He makes a defensive play right before the goal, and then he makes the takeaway in the neutral zone to get the puck to Scott Lawton. He was... Again, there was a few guys who I thought were everywhere tonight. TK, one hell of a... He's fun to watch. Like, he is the exact type of player we love. Like, he's not going to drop the gloves like a Wayne Simmons. He's not going to lay huge hits like Mike Richards. But just the energy he plays with and doing everything, whatever is called on in the situation. He wins a face-off a couple of games ago to set up a goal.
He did.
And he was... like calling, okay, you over here, after I think Frost got tossed, and that's happened so many damn times this year. Like, he's just kind of, especially with Coots out, like, he's the captain of this team. We know that there's kind of like this triumvirate of, you know, vibes master, right, everyone included. Scott Lawton, like, he's that guy. Sean Couturier, just the elder statesman, one of the longest tenured players in this whole freaking city. I mean, they drafted him in 2011 and he made the team as a teenager. That was a long time ago. And then you have the ultimate lead by example, I will do whatever the team needs, Travis Konecny. And he gets rewarded with a couple of assists tonight. And you're just seeing, wow, his game go to another freaking level. Like, what is he now? 10 points shy of what he put up last year in game 51. And he's been banged up. He hasn't been shooting as much. We know he's playing through some stuff. There've been a bunch of times Charlie said, like, and he'll be joining us shortly. There's been a bunch of times Charlie said, like, we've been waiting to talk to Travis Konecny and we have to sit there because it's like, he's getting treatment. Hold on, he'll be out in a minute. Like, and that's happened a lot this season with him. He's taken his game to yet another freaking level. And I just wonder, what could he be with a center? Like, imagine
him with a center.
Sean Couturier, Morgan Frost, Ryan Poehling at one point. Like, they put him out there with Cates this year, and it's the best center he's played with all season. And I like Noah Cates a lot. He's been really great. When he's the best center that your number one right winger, almost $9 million player, has played with this season, that's not ideal. And yet here he is, like, on pace to crush his season, like, career highs.
Like, it's not out of the realm. Like, if he goes on a nice little run of points, like, he could get 100 points this season.
If this power play picks it up a little, like, he could have 40 and 100. Like, that, he's on pace for like 90 some points, which is still awesome.
Insane.
Like, he could be a 100-point guy. And listen, we've talked that contract to death. I still don't know if I agree with it. Like, in this situation, you trade a Travis Konecny, right? But damn, it's hard not to love that. Like, I get to watch this guy for however much longer he plays, and that's cool.
There's no downside.
That's cool.
To having him on our team.
Watching him play is objectively cool.
Zero downside.
He's a leader for this team now. He's not just like, oh yeah, you know, he's a 20, 25 goal guy. He'll put up his points, this or that. No, he's an absolute freaking leader for this team. And before we bring Charlie in, I want to tell you about Golden Nugget Jewelers. Golden Nugget Jewelers down at the corner of 8th and Chestnut. They have been a family-owned and operated business since 1987. And take it from me, I've been on the ring hunt before. You have no idea what you're doing. It's guys, especially, you're going to go buy an engagement ring. You have no freaking idea what you're supposed to be spending, what the best ring is, what the best deal is, how to even get started in this ring buying process. You walk in like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Well, guess what? The people at Golden Nugget Jewelers are here to help you because you deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more. And while we're here, listen, I know a little bit more about buying sunglasses than I do engagement rings. And that's why I love Shady Rays, because I've been through so many different kinds of sunglasses over the years, and Shady Rays are my absolute favorite. From quality to price, they are outstanding. I tell you all the time, man, I love the tangle-free option. They don't have the little nose piece, even on aviators. So you go into Wawa on your way to work, you put your sunglasses up on your head, and suddenly you're not pulling your hair out when you put them back down. It's outstanding. And right now, for PHLY viewers and listeners, you can go to ShadyRays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars. So use code PHLY today at ShadyRays.com. 35%, that's a hell of a deal.
That is a good deal.
And now we have one hell of a hockey beat reporter joining us. That's right. Live from the Wells Fargo Center, it's Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. Charlie, thoughts on the game and any standout comments from the locker room?
Hello, guys. How are y'all doing? I guess, yeah, I'm very glad to hear that. Going back to tonight's game, though, I think for me, and obviously it wasn't an apples to apples, it's not like the two games were exactly the same. But for me, what was the most striking was how similar the Flyers were able to contain the Devils tonight versus 2 Saturdays ago. The game plan was near identical in terms of making them dump the puck in a lot, playing tight in the neutral zone, and then keeping them almost exclusively to the outside at 5-on-5 in the offensive zone. Flyers did an amazing job of that on Saturday. 2 Saturdays ago, I guess. This past Saturday, no, that was not when the Flyers played, but 2 Saturdays ago, they did almost as good of a job tonight. And it's very fascinating to me because, look, if the Flyers make the playoffs, they're probably going to make it as a wild card, last game of the year type team. They know that. The Devils, on the other hand, are fully expected to cruise into the playoffs. I would guess they are generally viewed as maybe like a second-tier cup contender. I feel like that's probably the consensus around them. My big takeaway coming out of this game is if they're struggling to crack the high danger areas against the Flyers, I am very skeptical they're going to be able to do it against the Florida Panthers, against the Carolina Hurricanes, like when they're playing against teams that have more firepower than the Flyers, but also play a very structured defensive game. So, look, credit to the Flyers. Flyers played a strong game again. I love the that early 4-minute penalty kill they had, which I thought really set the tone for the rest of the first period. I thought that was key, and a bunch of the players agree that was a major momentum changer, momentum creator, whatever you want to call it. That said, I had just as much of a takeaway from this game about the Devils in terms of me being skeptical that this team can go on a long run, because if they're having trouble breaking through the Flyers, I struggle to see how they're going to break through teams with more talent than the Flyers who also play like this.
Yeah, Charlie, it struck me as well. The Devils were able to obviously get more shots through than the last time when the Flyers had 33 blocks, and Devils only had 13 shots on net, but it was a lot from the outside tonight again. What do you chalk up the Flyers' success against the Devils to? This is a really good Devils team. They're in a bit of a skid right now, but Flyers beat them a couple of times in a couple of weeks and fairly handily, at least in terms of final score. Is this a bad matchup for the Devils? Is it just they're motivated for it? They hate Josh Harris. What do you chalk this up to?
Bill, I would love for it to be that the Flyers hate Josh Harris on behalf of the entire city. Yeah. I don't think it's that, but it would be very funny if it was. It might be a bad matchup for them, to be honest. I actually asked Joel Farabee about it after the game, after most of the reporters had left and moved over to Garnet Hathaway scrum. I asked, matchups are real, and is this a bad matchup for them, you think? Do you think you guys do something that makes things tough? And he more or less said, look, they're a great team. They're going to get their chances, and I'm sure they're going to play well in 2 days when we play them again. But he did note that the Devils like to play a perimeter game in the offensive zone, and then they hit you with the high danger passes. They'll cut it through the slot and create high danger passing plays, high danger shots that way. The Flyers want you on the perimeter, and then they clog the middle, and they just make it tough for a team to be able to pull off the types of plays that the Devils like to pull off. Now, that's not saying the Devils can't do it. If the Flyers were to play the Devils in a 7-game series, I'm sure that a few games at least the Devils would find ways to create a lot of scoring chance because they're a really, really good team. But I do think that the Flyers' style of play, which is force teams to play dump and chase because they check so tightly in the neutral zone, and they step up, they surf up in the neutral zone. That's the word that John Tortorella uses to describe what they do in the middle of the ice. And then in the defensive zone, they clog the middle. They block a ton of shots. It probably does. It's I wouldn't quite call it a blueprint because obviously not every team can do what the Flyers do, but it probably does mesh well with what can slow down the Devils. So I do think it might be a bad matchup, but we're going to find out a little bit more in 2 days, because if the Devils go out there and blow the Flyers out 6-1, then maybe it's not a bad matchup at all. But through these 2 games, that was what was going through my mind, was that this just might not be a good matchup for the Devils. It might be a good matchup for the Flyers.
Chuck, Sam Ersson made his 8th start in the last 10 games since returning from injury. I've been critical of the workload and thinking maybe they need to split this up a little bit. But to my eyes, he played one of his best games of the season tonight when the Devils did get chances. I mean, the 2 goals are an own goal that Sanheim tried to bat out of the air, and it ends up banking into the net. And then the Timo Meier goal Yeah, it bounces off like 3 things, I'm pretty sure. I thought Ersson stupendous tonight. What did you and the coach think of Ersson's play?
I thought he was great, and John Tortorella praised the hell out of him after the game. Wasn't willing to say he thought it was his best game ever, but he did say that there were a lot of saves that were deceptively difficult that Ersson made, and that was what I saw. It wasn't necessarily that the Devils were peppering him with high quality chances, but they had some key ones. And you're absolutely right. The goals he gives up, the first goal at the end of the second period, what are you going to do? Yeah, I guess he could have caught that, but that puck is not going in the net until Travis Sanheim bats it out of air and bats it right back into his goalie and has it bounce in. Certainly not the goalie's fault. And then, the one late in the third, at the very least, it went off Garnet Hathaway. I don't know if it went off someone else after that, but it could have. So neither goal are ones that you pin on the goalie. Otherwise, Ersson was great. And look, I've also worried a little bit they might be working him a little bit too much. By the same token, this is the best he's been playing all year, and I do think there might be part of their thinking might be, let's just ride him. We know that we've only got 2 more weeks until he's going to get I think it's like a full 2-week break with 4 Nations, and unless he shows signs of slippage, let's just ride him, because maybe this is a case of him being in a rhythm, and we don't even want to get him out of that rhythm because it's the best hockey he's played so far this year. But to answer your initial question, he was great. I thought he was great, and John Tortorella very much thought that he was great.
Charlie, your hair looks great. Just wanted you to know that. Second period, Nick Seeler lays that big hit on Bastian. Kind of up high, but kind of also Bastian's head down a little bit low. It seemed like the response among the fans was a little bit of a mixed bag as to whether it was a good hit, a high hit. No penalty on the play at all in game. What was your take on the Seeler hit?
Not really sure, because it wasn't something I was like slowing down the tape to see every single frame and whatnot. I didn't think it was late. I did think, it comes right after, I would say, he makes the pass. He's admiring the pass, but I think that's still fair game. So I'm not calling that a late hit. Also, Bastian should not be admiring his pass. That's a no-no in hockey. Going back to your early days when you're single digit age, don't watch your pass, make the pass and pay attention. So I don't think Bastian did a great job protecting himself. That said, was there contact with the head? I'm not quite sure, but there could have been. My first instinct when I watched the play is I thought he got him flush in the chest. That said, I don't have all the angles the NHL has, and there are some comparisons you can make with the Zippelcup hit on Poehling, just because, same thing where it's a hit the guy isn't expecting. It maybe wasn't, who knows? I guess it depends on whether there's head contact, but both plays, there's no penalty on the play. Seeler gets a penalty for the aftermath, but not the hit itself. I don't know. To me, it was a vicious hit. I mean, and Seeler was taking advantage of the fact that he wasn't paying attention, but it looked legal to me. I'm curious to see what the NHL is going to say afterwards, though, because obviously they took another look at the Zippelcup hit on Poehling and gave him 3 games. So we'll see. I did think it was notable, though, that the Devils didn't seem mad about it. It's not like they spent the rest of the game chasing Seeler around. It's not like their coach was screaming and yelling the way Torts is. Now, maybe the Devils just aren't built the way the Flyers are in terms of that being a key part of their identity. But generally speaking, teams get mad if they think that one of their teammates got hurt on a dirty hit. The fact that they didn't target Seeler the rest of the game, I don't know. It hints that maybe they didn't think it was a dirty hit either.
Can you imagine for a second? I realize like half these players weren't even born in 2000, but like the Devils getting mad about a dude getting hit because his head was down. I mean, yeah, I bet that sucks for you, huh?
It's too soon, Bill. Entirely too soon. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Chuck. So Michkov didn't see the ice for about the second half-ish of the third period. Wanted to see what you thought of his game tonight and if Torts had any comments on how Michkov played tonight.
No, and he wasn't asked, because this is something that I think Twitter cares far more about than like anyone else, because they look at the time on ice and then find something to be angry about. I don't know. I'll have to go back through and see if, like, in one of his final shifts, if Michkov made a mistake, like a glaring one. I truthfully, it really wasn't even on my radar screen because, again, I was focused on like the game and not how many minutes Matvei Michkov was getting. And that's not a shot at you guys. It's just like the Flyers win 4-2. They beat a really good team, and people are yelling on Twitter about Michkov's ice time. Like, does this really
about it, Charlie? I'm just asking.
Does this really matter in game 51 of his rookie season? But point being is that I'm not sure if there was a specific reason. It very well could have just been that it was a very tight checking game, and Tortorella in the past has pulled guys out of the rotation if he doesn't feel like their play in that particular game quite fits a tight checking game where you're trying to protect a lead. It very well might have been that simple. I just don't think this is that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things because, again, it's one game in the middle of his rookie season. If he's getting scratched, that's one thing. If he's getting benched for, half the game or whatever, that's another thing. To me, this was probably more situational than anything else. And it wasn't something that I even really noticed until I started seeing people online yelling about it after the game.
All right, Charlie. It is time for your 3 stars of the game. That's right. Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars. Lead it off with star number 3.
Star number 3, I'm going to go with Joel Farabee. I thought he had a strong game. He's been really good since coming back in the lineup. Gets that goal, has that fun celebration, which he confirmed was a first down sign. Very similar to the one Saquon did at the end of a couple playoff games ago. So that was entertaining. But he's just playing well, and he's earning himself more ice time. I thought it was actually quite funny that he's no longer apparently the designated penalty taker on delay of games, probably because he's getting some PK time now. So, look, I'm not ready to say that Joel Farabee is back in the sense of the guy who he was the first 55 games of last year, but he is showing signs that perhaps a second half surge might not be out of the question. I thought he had a strong game tonight. He's had a lot of strong games over the last week and a half. So Joel Farabee, 3rd star.
We agreed with that earlier in the show. Hit us. Star number 2.
Star number 2, I kind of went back and forth on this one. I'm going to go with Garnet Hathaway, and I'll tell you why. Because this game just struck me as a very Garnet Hathaway kind of game. It was in your face. It was tight checking. I thought the entire first period he was chirping. He was getting engaged. He was ticking off the Devils, and then he goes out there in the second and scores a goal in a very Garnet Hathaway way. It's a little greasy, nice little tip play, but he's fighting through contact. He's skating through the slot. I just thought this was a quintessential Garnet Hathaway game. In a game that had the style that is very conducive to the way he wants to play. I really liked his game. No, he didn't get a ton of ice time, but I thought he did a lot with the minutes he was given, and he's my 2nd star of the game.
Just because you mentioned Hathaway, I just wanted to get your take on, in 31 fewer games, Charlie, Hathaway has matched his offensive output from last season, 7 goals, 10 assists. That's exactly what he had last year. How do you explain that? Is he's got better line mates? He's just in a little bit better of a rhythm? Like, the offense has not exploded. Like, he's got 17 points, but that's what he had all last year. It's pretty impressive.
I don't think he's really had better line mates. He had pretty much the same line mates last year. Paling a lot of the time before he got hurt. Lawton sometimes. Maybe Cates a little bit in the beginning of the year. I don't think it's line mates. I think it's just that he's having probably a slightly better year overall. Maybe he's just feeling a little bit more confident with the puck, and he's had a couple bigger games here and there. But to me, Garnet Hathaway is just who he is. He's a smart player. He's a physical player. He's a fun player to watch. And, if he ends up getting a career high in points, which he certainly could, I think his career high is 26. He's at 17 now. So it's possible if he has like a 2-point game here or there, maybe he could, and that'd be real cool. But I don't think it's because he's doing anything different. I think he's just playing Garnet Hathaway game, and he's getting rewarded for it a little bit more than he did last year.
All right, Charlie, finally, who is star number 1?
Yeah, star number 1, Sam Ersson. And he joked after the game that he really needed to make up for it when he has that bad delay game penalty in the third. He laughed about it. But setting that aside, he was fantastic. And again, I don't think that this was a game where the Flyers gave up like a deluge of scoring chances, of high danger chances. They did a, generally speaking, very good job, especially at 5-on-5, of keeping the Devils to the perimeter. I was very impressed by that. But there were definitely some big saves he had to make. He has to make a couple saves, I believe, on Hughes. There was that one on an odd man rush. There was a big stop he makes midway through the second, I believe. He just played a strong game. And really, these past couple weeks, I know he had that one game where he gives up a bunch of goals. I forget which game it was a few games ago, but there was a game where maybe it was the Rangers game, and that was maybe a little fluky, maybe just great execution on the part of the Rangers. But if you were worried about him backsliding after a game like that and losing some confidence, he showed tonight that very much is not the case. To me, he's the no-brainer first star. Finishes with, I'm looking at it, what is it, a .939 save percentage, 31 saves on 33 shots. That's pretty darn good, Bill and Kelly. Pretty darn good indeed.
Pretty good.
First star of the game, Sam Ersson.
All right, Charlie. Charlie will be back with us tomorrow. We have our 4 o'clock regular studio show, so make sure you tune in here for that. But that is Charlie O'Connor joining the Bet365 PHLY postgame show. Chuck, talk to you tomorrow.
Bye, Chuck.
All right. Bye, gang.
I'm pretty sure that's the schedule. Yeah,
you nailed it.
Brenna confirms.
Yes.
I've only looked at it like 3 times, and I can't remember what it is at all.
You're doing amazing.
I love Charlie. Just has certain words that he pronounces differently. Deluge. I've never heard him say before.
Did he say deluge and not deluge?
Instead of like, what was it, deluge?
Deluge, yeah.
He was like deluge. He's just interesting with some of his pronunciations. I love Charlie, though.
And he acts like I'm the idiot.
Before we get back to, I want to talk about that delay a game real quick. But first, I got to tell you about the trip to Montreal.
That's go.
Right. Listen, you got to sign up to be a diehard, obviously, because it's a hell of a deal. But this right here, this is what I'm most excited about. April 4th to the 7th. PHLY road trip with Philly Sports Trips. We're heading to see the Flyers and Habs, and you can come with us. Go to allphly.com right now. Get your round trip airfare, get your game tickets, get your hotel stay, all through Philly Sports Trips and PHLY. This is going to be a lot of fun. We have different tiers. If you just maybe want the hotel stay, you're going to do your own travel. There's options for that as well. All sorts of different options, all different price points. Check them out. It's going to be a great time. There's going to be pregame party, a meet and greet with Brian Propp, the game, all sorts of different things. Philly Sports Trips does a hell of an event. You're going to love it. Kelly loves Montreal. Charlie loves Montreal. I've never been. We're going to have a great time. You should join us April 4th to the 7th.
Yeah.
Head over to allphly.com right now to reserve your trip. I am in the minority of liking the puck over the glass penalty. I think it should be.
Sits, you like it?
I think it should be in all zones.
Okay.
And the glass should be much, much higher. They should almost be playing bubble hockey. But I just like it. Keep the puck in play. Let's go here.
I mean, yes.
That said, this is like what? You're 19 or 20 since the lockout?
Yeah.
I would love to know how many fewer pucks over the glass there are. Like, was this a real problem before? I don't remember.
No.
Like, it was 20-some years ago. I don't remember prior to the lockout.
If this was just like firing it over the glass
something
constantly.
that happened like on such a regular basis that we had to draw a line and say, this is a delay of game penalty.
Also, like, calling the penalty delays the game more than just, putting the puck back in play. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if it's like, I feel like you can tell when a guy puts it over the glass intentionally. Like, it's very clear. But, like, if you're just trying to go off the glass and out and you miss a little bit, like, come on.
Like, yeah, that's the...
Just keep it going.
You could see, like, so much. And, again, like, I'm for the penalty. Keep it in play. But, like, when a guy's just trying to clear the puck and it just gets out, like, especially a goalie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Goalies playing the puck is fun. And, like, they've done so much to take it away. Like, oh, yeah, you can only play at the trapezoid, and if you play it out, like, they're not good at handling the puck. It's really, really hard. Marty Berdore's retired. No one's good at it. So, like, I don't...
Bush said he could never even get it over the glass.
Bush said he couldn't lift it. He never could take one of those penalties.
Could never do it.
Because he couldn't lift the puck, which is very, very funny. But I don't know. Was this like an epidemic that needed solving before? I don't remember.
Is the NHL ever solving actual problems? Yeah. They just implement rules that no one's asking for, and then they're like, "See, we fixed it for you."
All right, want to take a quick look
you all wanted those offside reviews,
at the standings here, and the Flyers. Yeah, 52 points. They are tied with the Rangers, but the Rangers have a couple games in hand, and they are 3 points back of Tampa for the. That's crazy. Boston and Tampa are in the 2 wildcard spots. Ottawa has moved up to 3rd in the Atlantic.
Ottawa's doing something.
Ottawa is real good, and they're doing it without Linus Ullmark.
I'm into it.
It's pretty impressive what Ottawa is doing. Boston hanging around better than I thought they would. I kind of thought there was going to be a major drop for them. Tampa hanging around. They also only have 48 games played. Like by points percentage, 573. They are ahead of Ottawa and Boston. But total points, they're in the second wild card. Do you think they can get back like into this thing and jump this many teams? Right now, they're behind the Rangers, the Red Wings, Montreal, Columbus, and then the fight of the 3 Atlantic teams for those 2 spots and the 3rd spot in the Atlantic.
It's going to be very tough for them because several of those teams that you just named are playing really well and have been kind of consistently for the last little while. Yeah, so the Flyers have a tough road ahead of them if they're going to get in. I, as the resident insane optimism person, I'm not sure we're going to do it this year. Last year, I felt much better about our chances of making the playoffs. This year, and it's not even just the Flyers, it's the teams ahead of them are playing so much better, more consistently than the Flyers are. The Flyers have this very infuriating habit of playing a great game like they did tonight and then immediately looking like crap for no discernible reason. And this up and down kind of thing, they're not doing themselves any favors. They can't put together like a consistent win streak or a point streak of any length to kind of gain some ground on these teams in front of them. And if those teams keep playing well and the Flyers keep doing this 1 step forward, 2 steps back thing, they're just not going to get anywhere. And that's fine. Because I think right now they would pick like what, 8th overall?
Yeah, I'm like trying to.
Not too bad.
I think their longest they've had 2 or 3. Looks like 3 3-game winning streaks.
Yeah,
they haven't put together a 4-game winning streak yet, and like,
got to do that.
At a certain point, you need to rattle off 5, 6, 7 in a row right. If you're going to make with the loser point, with the way this works, the parity in the league.
Yeah,
it's really tough to make up ground.
Yep.
Like you stay in it. You're always hanging around, but you have to surpass these teams at some point, and maybe they can get started. This was a good game tonight. They play the Devils again. They have another one.
Do this exact game over again on Wednesday.
They have another one with the Islanders. Like, you're gonna have a little break coming up soon, so we'll see if they can get it going. But
yeah,
I'm hopeful.
Me
because
too.
If they're gonna do the rebuild this way. That was air quotes, was my pause for everyone listening to the pod.
Yeah.
If they're going to do the rebuild this way, like, I want them to accomplish their goal of playing the meaningful games. If they believe that's how you develop your talent, by putting them in those situations, then, like, I want them to do that, Or sell everyone in tank. But that's never going to be what they do. So I want to see this team, but it's tough road.
It is.
It's going to be rough. The thing they have going for them is after the break, they should be refreshed. They shouldn't be as beat up as they were down the stretch last year. And Sam Ersson playing pretty well, not falling apart. And this is right around the time last year where the wheels kind of came off for Sam. So we'll see how it goes. Bruna, let's hit those super chats.
Look at all these super chats.
Our boy Borfus is, or I don't know. I'm just calling him the colloquial.
Listen.
Yeah.
Borfus. Go ahead and read the thing. Read the thing.
He's not a starter, but you guys owe Sam an apology. He played a hell of a game tonight.
We said nothing untrue about him at the start during pregame. He has been up and down.
He's been up and down this season. He's been really inconsistent since coming back from injury number 3. Yeah. His numbers have been mostly good.
Show me the line.
But like, there's a reason he's got a save percentage that's like 10 points lower than league average. It's
he looked great tonight.
Yeah, he was great tonight. Absolutely.
Both things are true.
Hope we get that Sam the rest of the way.
That'll be great.
Would be cool if he's at least part of the solution in net. I don't think he's a number one.
Yeah.
I think he's a tandem guy or a really good backup ultimately. But he needs to like be consistent.
Consistency, yes.
Yeah, and healthy. Like these are two things he needs. Maybe this is the start of something. Maybe this run, it's now what? I said 8 starts in the last 10 games.
You did.
They've mostly been good. Hopefully it stays that way.
String a couple together, bud. Let's go.
All right, from JH. He says, not today, Satan. It was like watching a cat play with a mouse. Also, welcome back, Sammy. I love beating the Devils. That's really what it is.
It feels great every time.
This strategy of like beating them up in the middle, keeping them to the outside, I do think there's something to, and I saw a bunch of comments like, this is what the Devils do. They're a perimeter team, and they have so much skill, and then they hit you with those cross-ice passes and those backdoor passes. But the Flyers are going to be physical. They're going to keep you to the outside, and if you don't have that willingness to kind of get in a little tighter and take some hits, you're not going to get a lot of scoring chances. And if Sam Ersson plays the way he did tonight, it's very difficult for the Devils to score playing the way they do against this team. I do think there is something to the matchup.
No, you're right.
But they have so much skill. Like, if they come out and win 6-1, like Charlie said, in a couple of days, will you be shocked?
Well, the thing about a team like the Devils is, like, in a 7-game series, they're probably going to beat the Flyers. But on a game-by-game basis, like you said, the Flyers know what they need to do to beat them. And if they can play their game effectively, they have a really good chance of taking it to this Devils team. The Devils need to adjust. They did not adjust tonight. Will they adjust on Wednesday? Maybe.
All right, let's hit Vince Pellegrini. I
know him.
The why not us?
Why not us, Vince?
Of course, Vince. Why not? There's a lot of teams ahead of them, I would say, is the reason right now.
That's the only reason why. Other than that, no reason.
Not for the teams with better records than the Flyers, they would have one hell of a chance.
I agree. Yeah.
I would love to see them get in.
They still could.
They could. They very well could. And
Stranger things.
That's games like tonight. You go like, man, they're very capable of beating very good teams.
Yeah, just play like this all the time.
They've been incredibly inconsistent this year. Their longest win streak, 3 games. That's kind of the tale of the season is up and down, roller coaster season. All right, from Timbo Slice. Timbo says, why not us? Winning the whole damn thing ain't no stopping us now. This is our frickin' year.
Timbo, I love the enthusiasm.
I hope so, man. What if we can win a Super Bowl and a Stanley Cup in the same calendar year?
Wouldn't know how to act.
I would be.
Bill might die.
Maybe. It's not
a good way to go.
It's not off the table. If you've seen some of the pole climbing celebrations gone wrong over the last 24 hours, it's never.
I want to try to climb a pole.
There was a photo of me.
It
was my Facebook photo in college in 2008. Climbing a pole, like my whole ass out. Like I had a Phillies jacket on, and I'm ascending the pole, and it's just like the position I'm in, my whole ass is out. And I wish I could still find that. It's somewhere, but I don't have Facebook for years now. Before we wrap up the show with the last couple of super chats, just want to say we appreciate those of you watching on TV. Head over to allphly.com for more of the show as we get to Corey's super chat here. Let's see. Quinn Hughes is a UFA in the same year our dead money expires. Can we be a contender with Michkov, Hughes, and some blah centers, or is a star 1C required?
You kind of need something resembling a 1C.
You need
at least a 2C.
You absolutely need a stud defenseman as well.
But Quinn Hughes would be a nice place to start.
I mean, if you've seen Vancouver's like with and without you numbers, they're like an awesome team when he's on the ice, and they're not very good when he's on. And like they have a bunch of good players, but when he's not out there, they're not very good. Like it depends on what the blah centers ultimately are.
Yeah.
Like if Jet Luchenko and Noah Cates are like good 2Cs and you have a third one of those, like if you have 3 second lines, and michkov is what he's supposed to be, and TK keeps it up, yeah, it might be possible to build a contender that way, but
maybe.
They need both of those things. That's they need a 1C and a 1D.
Somebody's got to get the puck to these wingers.
Yes. That's
right now, it's Noah Cates and nobody else.
And that's insane to think about where we were like a year ago with Noah, where we were 2 months ago with Noah Cates.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of insane to think about. All right, another one here from JH. He says, I feel you, Kelly. My wife says I suffer from toxic optimism, but why not us?
Listen,
it's always better to be an optimist.
It's the better way.
It's why go through life making yourself miserable?
Pessimism is the coward's way.
Yeah, and that's the thing we always say. It's easy to be pessimistic. You know how many teams don't win? All of them but one.
Yeah.
31 out of 32 teams doesn't happen for. It's easy. Like, you're not rolling the dice being a pessimist. It's much harder to go, you know what? I am going to emotionally invest and risk disappointment.
Hurt me every year, the Flyers.
But I think it's just an easier way to go. It's a better way to go through life, honestly.
Exactly.
Just putting it all out there. All right, let's see this next one here from Rob Bleeder. Sam was awesome tonight. The whole team was. Yeah, it was another great team win.
It's a solid game start to finish.
Many more shots faced than in the previous, when he stopped 12 out of 13.
And he had to make some tough saves.
He made some really big saves tonight. I think there was the one shorthanded chance, a few late that were really, really big. The second period, it sounded like he was on fire when I was listening on the radio.
He was very good.
So very few complaints about Sam Ersson. He was awesome, even with the puck over the glass. All right, and finally from JH, get Bill a pole.
Right here.
Yeah.
In the middle of the studio.
Should I still be climbing poles? Probably not. But I'm gonna.
I want to climb a pole.
In a couple of weeks. I'll get you up on my shoulders.
I don't know if I could get down. That's the problem. Did you ever go rock climbing? I was always great getting up to the top, and then I would be like, oh no, now what? You get to the top, and I'm like,
go rock climbing.
You get to the top, and it's scary. Going down is scarier than going up.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Also, going up seems horrifying.
Well, going up is because you're not really.
I've been on one of those walls.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never actually climbed a mountain.
No. When you're going up, you're just looking up, and then you get up there, and you're like, oh.
That's fair.
Oh, dear. Now I have to go back down. And I feel like I would get to the top of the pole and then be like, well, now what?
I'm not afraid of heights, but I am afraid of falling.
Someone call the fire department. Yeah.
My hands get real sweaty just thinking about climbing rocks. Right. All right. That's it. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame, presented by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be back tomorrow with our 4 o'clock regular studio show, so make sure you're following us right here on YouTube and set those reminders so you never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter as well at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. Until tomorrow, I am Bill Matz. That is Kelly Hinkle. Let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.